Okay, notes number 3 are solving absolute value equations. So what is absolute value? Absolute value is the distance away from 0. So think of a number line. And then if we're talking about distance, we're talking about positive numbers. So equal, you can say equal to a positive number. Cannot be negative distance. So for example, if the absolute value of x is equal to 5, what are the possible values of x? So thinking of a number line, this is like asking what number can I put in here that has a distance of 5 away from 0? That would be a 5, and it would be a negative 5. So in other words, so I'm going to say negative 5 and 5. And just to show it, the absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of negative 5 is also 5. The inside can be, this can be positive or negative, but the outside has to be positive. And then if the absolute value of x is negative 5, what are the possible values of x? So like I just said, the outside can never be negative. So this is not possible. We do not have a number that is negative 5 away from 0. Negative 5 doesn't count because, again, distance is positive. So you have your steps right here on how to solve. So we have, first step is to isolate the absolute value. So I'm going to be highlighting it. I want to get this by itself, which in this first problem it already is. And then once you do that, you split it into two cases. The left is going to be the same thing. On the right side, the only thing you change is this number, whatever that is, and it becomes negative. So all you do is solve. We do plus 9. And then on the right side, we get positive 4. And both of these are your answer. On your calculator, so you can check it. Looks a little bit different here, but there's a button next to the 9 that gives you this same symbol for absolute value. And then instead of x minus 9, I'm going to put 14 minus 9. You always have to plug it into the original. So equals 5. Press enter, and it gives you true. Same thing, so absolute value. Now I'm going to check the 4, the other answer that we got. So 4 minus 9 is equal to 5. I also get true. And I'm just going to continue doing these. So number 2, it's already isolated, so we write it twice. The right side stays 2x plus 7, but the 3 becomes negative. Now I do minus 7. 2x is equal to negative 4. I divide by 2, and then I get negative 2. If you were to plug it into the original, you would get true. On this one, 2x is equal to negative 10. Divide by 2. The answer is negative 5. Okay, number 3. Before you start splitting it in 2, you have to isolate that, which is, it is not isolated because there's that plus 17 there. So we have to move that first. So I'm going to do minus 17. I still have absolute value of x minus 1. This is going to equal 6. Since it is now isolated, I'm going to split it into 2. So if every problem you will have your little split. So here I do plus 1. I get 7, and then plus 1. I get negative 5. Number 4, I have to isolate this. So to get, we never distribute with absolute value, by the way. So here we're going to get rid of the 3. The 3 is multiplying, so the opposite would be to divide. So that gives me 13 on the right side. And then now I can split it into 2. So I have x plus 8 is equal to 13. X plus 8 is equal to negative 13. Subtract 8. I get x is equal to 5. That's your final answer there. And then on the other side, x is equal to negative 21. Number 5, so I'm isolating this. Same thing, to get rid of the 16, we divide by 16. And then this is actually where you can actually stop, because if you remember at the beginning of the notes, I told you absolute value cannot equal a negative number. So this can't be negative. If you forget this and you go ahead and split it in two, that's why I want for you to check your answers, because both answers should give you false if you go ahead and keep solving it. But this one, since it's a negative 2 and that can be negative, we do not have a solution. Number 6, we have to isolate this. We've already done fractions like this, so if you're dividing, this is dividing by negative 2. The opposite of dividing is to multiply. And since it's a negative, it's going to still stay negative 2. These cancel out just like I showed you last time. So we have absolute value of x minus 10 is equal to negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. Now I can split it in two. And I get 22 and negative 2. Did forget to say, I did say it with the first two, but once you start having to do stuff like with 3 through 6 at the very beginning, when you check your answers, for example, number 3, if you check your answer, it has to be plugged into this one, that whole thing. You can't do the one in the middle. It has to be the original for all of these problems. Okay, moving on. We're only going to go to number 10 for day 1. So number 7. If it helps you to flip it, you can. I'll go ahead and do that. Just so the absolute value is on the left. So I have to get this by itself, which means the 11, I need to add it. That gives me a 6. I'm going to split this in two. So I get 8 minus x is equal to to 6, and then 8 minus x is equal to negative 6. We always add or subtract first. So the 8, this is not multiplying, it's a minus. So look in front of the 8. The 8 is actually a positive 8, so we're going to subtract it. So I have negative x is equal to negative 2. Anytime you're trying to get rid of a negative, we divide by negative 1. So x is equal to positive 2. And then with the other one, we do minus 8. I have negative x is equal to negative 14. Divide by negative 1. We get x is equal to positive 14. Okay, number 8, I'm going to isolate the top. So to get rid of the 6, so the 6 is dividing by 6, the opposite would be to multiply by 6. These cancel out. 0 times 6 is 0. We split it. On the left, I have this. But on the right, I'm not going to put 3x plus 12 equals negative 0. There's no such thing as negative 0. So then that just means just solve the left side, and that'll be your only possible answer. So minus 12. We get 3x is equal to negative 12. Divide by 3. Our only answer here is negative 4. Okay, number 9. Very often in this class, you will see problems like this, where there's two numbers in the front. The 9 and the 4. Anytime you need to get rid of two numbers like this, start with the first one. So this problem, we're going to start with the 9. You're either going to add or subtract that number, depending whether it's positive or negative. So the 9 is positive. Look in front of it. So we're going to subtract the 9. So I have this right here equals negative 24. The negative 4, the second number that you have, should always be multiplying, whether it's positive or negative. So we're going to divide by negative 4. I end up with this, and then I split it. X plus 10 is equal to 6. x plus 10 is equal to negative 6. I get x is equal to negative 4. X is equal to negative 16. Both are true if you plug them into the original. Okay, finally the last one. So this is still like number 9. I know it doesn't look like it, but there's two numbers, the 12 and the 8, that we have to get rid of. And once again, always do addition subtraction first. So the plus 8 is going to go first. So minus 8. And then that 12 is multiplying right now, so we're going to divide it. That gives me a 2. I'm going to go ahead and split it in 2. Don't let that fraction throw you off. Just write it down. X over 5 is equal to negative 2. And then we know how to get rid of the 5. The 5 is dividing, so we multiply both sides by 5. We end up with x is equal to 10. And then on the other side, multiply by 5, we end up with x is equal to negative 10.